Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Google Pixel 3 and see how this particular phone holds up in 2025. Now, this is an interesting phone because, this phone brought a lot of stuff to the table when it first came out, but I don't know if this would be a phone I would necessarily, recommend people to buy, but there are definitely way better types of devices to go and buy in this day and age. So we'll take a look at it throughout this whole entire video. But first things first, if you do want to go through and pick up some phones that I personally would recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of these particular devices. The first thing to keep in mind here with the Google Pixel 3 is that this is one of those types of devices where when I kind of look at it, it's still giving you, for the most part, a pretty decent type of display for how old this kind of phone is. The screen size on the Google Pixel 3 is about 5.5 inches, which is actually a pretty small size display in today's standards. But back in 2018, when this phone first came out, this was actually a pretty common type of display size to have, right? We had like 5-inch displays, then we had bigger types of displays at that time. So that was always something that was very, very surprising. But in this particular situation, this display size itself is pretty interesting, right? So it's not the biggest size display, but it is 1080p. It's still 60 Hz, so nothing crazy going on there. So again, it's more or less what you'd expect when you're kind of getting a device like this, right? Nothing crazy, nothing insane, but you're still going to be able to go through and get a good type of display for the most part for how old this phone is. Now, it does have some bezel around it, so it's definitely not anything super crazy that we haven't already seen before, but I will tell you, for the most part, still being able to go through and get a device like this that's going to be giving you this type of experience, I think is actually kind of nice because it is giving you this like front-facing speaker, which is actually kind of nice to have for the most part. Again, it's just kind of funny to have something like this kind of laying around. So, it's cool. I definitely do prefer and appreciate getting devices like this. And that is kind of what you're going to be getting when you're getting a device like this for the most part. So you're still maintaining USB Type-C at the bottom, which is always nice to have. I love getting USB-C, and you are also going to be getting that here inside of this type of device too, which again is something that's really, really nice to have. This phone is primarily kind of built out of this like it's like a aluminum frame and a glass back, but it didn't really feel like that for the most part. It felt more like a different type of experience. But, I still think if you're going to go through and get a device like this, I'm sure it's still going to feel okay for a lot of people. But you might be looking elsewhere for getting a better type of experience for the most part. So I will tell you, when you're going through and kind of looking at this phone, there's a lot of things to love, but there's also some things to kind of be a little bit somewhat kind of concerned for the most part. Number one, this phone does lack out in a couple of things. Like there's some wireless charging, but there's no reverse wireless charging, which is something that a lot of devices have nowadays. A lot of devices end up giving you some sort of, reverse wireless charging. This device isn't really going to be giving you that here, which again is kind of unfortunate. You're also going to be missing out on things, in some other capacities. You're going to be missing out on things like, a high refresh rate panel. There's not like an insane amount of cool features here, not really high brightness, single camera setup. There's not a lot of things on this phone that stand well when you kind of take a look at it from the length of having a device like this, but it still isn't terrible either. I'm going to be honest. But there's definitely a lot more better devices out there to go and buy rather than this one. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. Now, another very big thing to keep in mind here is the camera setup. So this phone is basically going to be giving you a single 12.2 megapixel wide angle camera on the back side. So it's going to be a single camera on the back. And then it's also going to be giving you a dual 8 megapixel camera on the front side. So this type of camera, I think for the most part, it's going to be good, right? The back side is going to be 4K at 30. The front side is going to be these dual 8 megapixel cameras, but it's going to be 1080p. Neither one of these cameras, I would say, are the top of their caliber, right? Back in 2018 even, these phones were kind of clowned on because Google, who was known of like making really good cameras, didn't really make this like exceptionally crazy good camera for this particular year. And people were expecting a lot better of a camera during this time. And that was kind of the main problem that, Google was kind of running into, because for the first time, their phones' cameras weren't really turning out to be that great. So even back then, it wasn't like this crazy big improvement. And even now, it's really not that good of a camera either. especially having a single camera setup like that, that is kind of one of the bigger downsides of kind of picking up a phone like this anyways. So that right there is going to be a little bit of a downside depending on who you are. And definitely when I'm looking at this type of camera, it really isn't that great of a setup in my personal opinion either. So from that side, I think that's another really important thing to kind of keep in mind there for the most part. Maybe it isn't like the biggest deal in the world, but it could just be one of those other minor things you might run into from that particular side. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there too. In terms of software, this phone is also pretty much done getting software support. So it's no longer really getting any more software updates. And that right there is another somewhat of a problem. Because if you're getting a device like this, you're pretty much getting a device that's already done getting software updates, and you might want to go and get a device that's going to be giving you more software updates. Unfortunately, with this thing, you're done getting software updates. It doesn't really have that much of a future ahead of it anymore either. And there might be some custom ROM community behind it, some other things like that too, but you're pretty much done getting software updates here. And that's going to be another downside for this type of device when it comes down to it as well. When it kind of comes down to battery life, the battery life inside of these devices are also not really that good. That is kind of another issue and problem that you're going to be running into when you're going to be getting these types of phones. These types of devices are already done getting software updates. The battery life is not really getting any more improved. And because these phones are significantly older now, you're also going to be getting a much older type of experience here for the most part as well when it kind of comes down to that experience. So although it's not the biggest deal in the world, like I mentioned, it is going to be another one of those types of experiences that you're going to be getting here, which is going to be somewhat of a downside. So it just kind of depends on which way you look at it. But again, if you're going to go through and pick up a device, you're probably going to be getting a little bit of a lackluster type of experience from that particular side when it comes down to it. So I think that right there is another big thing to keep in mind there too. On top of that, the performance, you're getting an older Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chipset with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So that right there is also going to be showing its age, right? You're going to be getting a little bit of an older type of styling of a device. It's definitely going to be showing its age when it comes down to it. And that right there is going to be another type of problem that you're going to be getting inside of these types of devices as well. So like I mentioned, if you're going to go through and pick up a device, I'm sure you don't want to just go through and buy a device that's going to be, quite a bit outdated when you go and kind of, pick it up. And that is going to be another one of these types of problems that you're going to be getting. So again, it isn't really the biggest deal in the world, but it is going to be another issue. So what I can definitely tell you, in my personal opinion, is that a device like this, for the most part, really just doesn't make any sense to buy in this day and age. There are way better type of devices to go and buy rather than this one. I think something like a Samsung Galaxy S23 or an iPhone, 13 Pro, those types of devices, or even like Google Pixel 7, those are going to be significantly better types of devices to go and buy rather than this one. This type of device, as far as I can tell you, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to go ahead and buy. Maybe at one point these phones did make more sense to go and pick up, but as of this point, this type of device with its caliber of its software updates or lack thereof, it's not really worth buying. And that's just kind of how I feel about it in this day and age. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.